This week, the Bookshelf Cinema is screening Selma, Still Alice, The Shawshank Redemption, Leviathan, Boyhood, and more. On March 27th, Michael Fierstack and Del Bell play an all-ages licensed show at the E-Bar. On Sunday, April 19th at Harcourt United Church, Michael Harris reads from Party of One about Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper and this country's radical makeover. The Bookshelf is an independently owned culture hub located at 41 Quebec Street in Guelph. For more information about their hours, listings, blogs, and accessibility, please visit bookshelf.ca.
I'll take your soul and your merchandise. Thanks to you, I haven't been the same since you made me want to die on the crutches of time.
Creative Control with Vish Khanna.
On this episode, Andy Kindler and I have a wonderful conversation about comedy and what should and shouldn't be happening in comedy. I think, at least according to Andy. We also talk about David Letterman, who Andy has had a relationship with David Letterman's show for quite some time. We talk about music a little bit. We talk about Maron, the new upcoming season of Mark Maron's show, Maron, which Andy has been on frequently and will be on. He's also on Bob's Burgers. I don't know if we talked about that much, actually. Anyway, it was a good conversation. He's a good man. He's playing a date in Canada this week in Winnipeg. So that's kind of the nature, the reason for the call. But I think it was good. I think we got along quite well. He's a good man. So this is myself and comedian extraordinaire Andy Kindler.
On Saturday, March 28th, CFRU presents a live performance from Guelph's own Eloquent, one of Canada's leading hip-hop producers and beatmakers. The show will also feature Etiquette, a dreamy new synth-pop project led by Julie Fader and Graham Walsh, who will be celebrating the release of their debut album, as well as Toronto's Program, performing their own unique brand of psychedelic and electronic shoegaze. This event is all ages and licensed and takes place at Silence, a physically accessible venue located at 46 Essex Street. Tickets are $10 at the door, with doors at 8:30 p.m. and performances beginning at 9 on Saturday, March 28th.
It's that time of year again. Kazoo Fest is back from April 8th to the 12th with bands like Deerhoof,
Absolutely Free,
No Joy,
Phaedra,
Scott Merritt,
Motem,
Homeshake,
Lido Pimienta,
Blimp Rock,
Fetnat,
Alana Gurr,
Tyson and the Trepids,
Fist City,
Squeezy C,
Black Spirituals,
Tyvek,
Her Harbor,
and more than 25 other musical performances.
Also featuring visual art installations,
Dance and multimedia performances,
the Print Expo,
and ending with a pancake breakfast.
Kazoo Fest is presented by Wellington Brewery,
The Cornerstone,
Bookshelf,
Mike Von Den at Home Group Realty,
and CFRU. For accessibility information and further venue details, please visit the website at www.kazookazoo.ca.
Okay, here we go. This is what we were talking about. Our next guests are an acclaimed rock and roll band from Brooklyn. Oddly enough, I'm having trouble holding this steady. Come on, send in a tape. It's called the Stay Positive. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program, The Hold Steady.
Andy Kindler is a stand-up comedian from New York City who is currently based in Los Angeles, California. Best known for frequent appearances as himself on The Late Show with David Letterman and recurring acting roles on shows like Everybody Loves Raymond, Maron, and Bob's Burgers, Kindler is a hard-working road comic who fearlessly assesses and critiques the comedy industry, both in his act and in his annual State of the Industry address at the Just for Laughs Festival in Montreal. Kindler will be performing at the Park Theater in Winnipeg on Friday, March 27th. And here to discuss some of what I just said is Andy Kindler. Hi, Andy. How are you?
Very nice job with the credits.
Did I do a good job? I feel like I stumbled a little bit over the last bit there, but it was accurate. Is that what you're commending me for? Is that what we've come to? That
I think you were able to. I think you were able to read. Well, I'm not. I mean, you're not pretending you made it up, but you're able to read stuff from my career and not make it sound dry. You know what I'm saying? You made it come to life.
Oh, well, thank you, I suppose. This is a thing I do all the time. No one has stopped me to compliment the actual delivery. They often are like, "Oh my gosh, that was so flattering. Can I use that?" That's what I get all the time. But
well, that's true. I was gonna. That would have been my alternate take on that reaction.
It's a thing that I've noticed more and more that's happening on podcasts and radio shows, where the guest will be like, "Wow," and they just spend a couple of minutes talking about how great the introduction was. Happens here all the time.
The other thing is that it's always comedy gold to make a comment about your own resume.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say there's one of a few ways I can go. I can go with the wow, that's impressive, whoever that guy is, or was that my resume? Wow, oh my God, I have to sit down. My own credits have stunned me.
Right. This has happened.
So pick out any of those and then re-edit the whole show.
Right. That's right. And then that could be the whole content. How was your interview with Andy Kindler? Well, we just mostly talked about the introduction. That was all we did. That's the way it works sometimes.
Well, I'm very deconstructive.
Yes, that's true. I've seen you do this in person, where you will tell a joke or you will recite something that, just like I did, you will recite something sort of that was written, and then after delivering it, you spend time, in a meta way, breaking down what it is you just said.
Well, don't say too much about it because you're getting into my trade secrets now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're almost like revealing where the milk goes in the milk and the newspaper trick. And by the way, if you're going to do the milk into the newspaper trick, don't drink the milk before you do a podcast, because we have heard that milk is bad for your pipes.
That's what we've heard. You and I have both been given this advice by people.
Well, I went to a voiceover audition once for. The only voiceovers I get are recommendations. Andy, why don't you put them in your thing?
Mm-hmm.
But when I went on these auditions, it was terrible. I mean, I didn't mind the auditions, but I never got anything. But then I had this one voiceover agent who was kind of like full of himself, and he was giving me all the different things that you're supposed to not do, and that's one of them. Don't drink coffee with the thing, but you're also supposed to eat a green apple or something.
A green apple? Specifically a green apple?
I think it was a green apple, like a Granny Smith, if that's green, because it supposedly makes your saliva glands produce more saliva.
Oh, that's interesting. I never heard that. I've been told to eat a banana before going on.
Well, I think someone's just telling you that in case you have low blood sugar.
Oh, really?
I don't think that's not voiceover related.
It was a monkey who told me this, so maybe I should actually reassess that advice.
Yeah, reassess consider the source.
Yeah, now,
but the point is, when I left every time I would leave that voiceover guy's office, I just was enraged. So I almost didn't want to eat. I wanted to come in with dried apples and say, "Yeah, they're green dried apples. What are you going to do?"
Yeah.
Because anytime anybody gets that into to being the teacher. It's I can't take it. Don't tell me how to do. Don't tell me there's a big rigmarole of doing voiceovers. It's clearly someone talking into a mic.
Yeah, I've seen Bob Dylan a number of times, and only in the last few have I noticed him drinking what I presume is water or something. He seems to go a long time singing a lot of stuff without drinking anything, and I was always baffled by that.
Well, I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, but what you're talking about now sounds like a book. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean? What?
Comparing rock and roll singers or any kind of singers. Well, you can start out with the worst case scenario, which is Marco Rubio,
Oh, that horrible
Marco Rubio.
Yeah, the water thing, the
that
water bottle thing. Yeah.
Yeah, where you could see this evil. I threw in evil. I guess just go with despicable. You could see this despicable. Well, I don't even know what to say about him. He's just self-aggrandizing. Anybody in the GOP if you're a Republican and you're not, maybe just vote Republican. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. What do you want me to do? But when you're in there, when you're trying to stop immigration and your hook is that you're from Cuba, it's not good. But when he was drinking that water, I mean, it just was like, that's it, game over. I would never trust him, even in if an emergency happened at a party, let alone his finger on the trigger.
Yeah.
By the way, they don't have a red button anymore that you press.
You just giving us some free info there? There's no red button. We can just.
No.
Okay.
No, it's all digital.
It's some kind of. They just need Wi-Fi in a coffee shop, and they can.
That's what. The technology has advanced just to make it easier to push the nuclear button.
I just read an article that suggests you previewed some of your planned remarks at the Just for Laughs festival on a podcast. Is this actually true? Did you do that?
Whose podcast would this be?
I don't know. I didn't.
Is this like a mystery? Is this like Let's Make a Deal or like Name That Line?
No, I could. If you want, I can Google it. I just didn't make note of the. Maybe I was being prideful because this is a podcast and I didn't want to plug someone else's. But I read that you on a podcast you talked about Ricky Gervais a little bit and that it might be a preview to your State of the Industry address.
Oh, I don't remember that exactly. Yeah, well, what happens is that it's March now, so it's going to be in July, end of July. So I'm not really geared up yet because things that bother me now probably won't bother me in the summer, but certainly I will be chronicling all of Jimmy Fallon's viral videos because that's what it's all about, my friends. It's all about, forget even watching the show. Just get 10 seconds of something.
Yeah.
Something wacky. Cameron Diaz doing a egg and spoon toss, whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
Jimmy cracking up. I could watch endless vines of Jimmy cracking up. But I can say that I probably will still find Ricky Gervais disturbing this summer. I just think anybody who goes to his Twitter account or listens to him talk, you have to come away with the conclusion that he is that David Brent character, which was so hilarious on the original Office.
Right.
It's not so hilarious when you realize that is him.
You really feel that way, huh?
Yeah, I do, because he's on his Twitter account, talking about trashing people because of their weight, calling people stupid if they're not an atheist, which I'm just tired of in general.
Yeah,
I've had it. I've had it up to here.
Have you engaged with his Twitter account? I did a thing where I was so tired of it, and I am also a huge fan of The Office, but I was so tired of it that I responded to Ricky Gervais. All I wrote was, "Are you an atheist?" And then all of his fans just ganged up on me. Like I was surprised that was one of my first indications of how Twitter worked. Everyone just like saw that and was like, "You idiot! Of course he's an atheist." What the? And,
yeah.
Yeah,
it's so funny to me. I thought that they would be also just slamming you because who do you think you are? Because even if they got the sarcasm of it, that they still would be like, it's the most. What's happening with him? What's happening with him and the people who follow people like him is the part of Twitter that you could see all of the ills in the world.
Yeah.
Compressed right there.
Yeah.
Because here's a guy, all he does is say terrible things about, he calls you an idiot if you're not an atheist, which I don't want to get into it, but there's no science in atheism. And also, it's all guys like him, their concept of what spirituality is they're fundamentalist atheists.
Yeah.
It's like they think they never at age 12 or a 7 or 6 whenever you realize, oh, I guess the Bible's not literal. They're just realizing that now.
Right.
And they think everybody who has any kind of spiritual anything, that's what they mean. Oh, what's your God? Because he's always like saying to people, hey, what's your God like? Oh, your God. Oh, okay. How about my God? Get at least more than a rudimentary. He has zero knowledge about what he hates.
Right.
And then the other part of it is this sycophantic Twitter account area where he has all these other accounts that he just retweets all. Gervais fan art, Gervaisaholics, Gervais quotes.
Oh, those are his accounts. I didn't know that.
They're not his accounts. But they're big fans of his.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
That he interacts with continually. So you're retweeting amazing compliments that this Gervaisaholics or whatever. It's like oh, look, what a pleasant surprise. Look what they've said about me over here. That I retweet 30,000 times a day. And then the other thing is that he actually does think that the more things he has in life makes him a better person. Because he's always, he's come back at me sometimes. He hasn't blocked me, but he's come back at me sometimes with like, Andy would have made it if he wasn't so angry. And it's like everything with him is, did you make it? How many mansions he has? How many awards he has? Because the classic one was when he does animal rights stuff.
Yeah.
And there's one of the classic ones was when he tweeted a photo in front of he was saying the only trophy hunting I do, and of course I'm not putting down the animal rights stuff obviously, but he's going, the only trophy hunting I do is this or something, and it's him in front of his award case where he stores all of his awards.
Yeah, I've seen this too, and yeah,
so self-serving.
I understand that. Have you two interacted beyond Twitter? You say he's responded to you on Twitter. Have you ever encountered him? Have you met him?
No, when I was just a huge fan of The Office, and he was on Letterman one of the first few times, I passed him in the hall because I had done a field piece. I do field pieces for Letterman. So I did I said something about him like, oh, I'm a huge fan. He said cheers, and that was the only time. Okay. But then he has, so I have not encountered him since then, but he definitely knows that I'm trashing him, and he responds. He's responded about 5 or 6 times, I think. Usually in a sideways way, you know.
Do you think he's aware of your station as a working comic? Like, does he know who you are? You wouldn't know that, I guess.
I think he knows who I am only because I annoyed him, but I don't think he's, I don't think he's someone who's going to be, oh, this guy who annoys me is a comic. Maybe I should explore more what he does. I think he'd much rather look at me as an annoying flea, you know?
Right.
Because that's part of his thing.
I want to get back to people like Gervais in a moment, but you mentioned Fallon, and when I saw you open for Mark Maron in Toronto in 2013, I think it was, you criticized Jimmy Fallon in your act, and it occurred to me today that you also actually went after Robin Williams that night. I'm just curious. You mentioned Fallon, and I want to dig into where this criticism comes from because it's very intense. What do you think of Jimmy Fallon exactly? Like, where does this hatred of him come from? Have your thoughts about Robin Williams changed subsequent to his passing?
Well, the thing about Robin Williams, I mean, they're two separate things. I mean, Robin Williams, I always had this reaction to his comedy, so I always would make fun of his stand-up. But I thought he was I enjoyed movies he was in. I remember, a few movies I saw him in I enjoyed. And also, he was somebody who was very, obviously sad when he passed away, and I have friends who knew him. And, I just feel like the thing that's hard sometimes is to separate, am I going after someone because I really, truly hate them, or is it also part of the shtick that I'm doing? So, with Robin Williams, I was annoyed by his comedy at certain points, but it's still under the guise of he's a high target, and because that's what I've always tried to do, or tried to refine over the years. If I want to go after people, I want them to be public figures who are, doing very well. so it doesn't look like I'm picking on somebody. So I had no desire to, like I used to say all the time, don't worry, guys, I won't Robin Williams this conversation. I won't be the guy that's like, ooh. It's like, since he passed away, I don't do that reference anymore because I just think it's kind of sad. It is sad the way he passed away, and so many people loved him, and he seemed to have, he seemed to be a pretty amazing guy. So in that case, it's no reason to continue. Now the thing about Fallon, it's interesting you say that I hate him, was I don't think he's like, I don't hate him like I hate Dick Cheney.
Did I say you hated him? You don't seem to like him.
No, but this is interesting. No, I'm not even accusing you of anything. I'm just saying that I always get uncomfortable because I don't realize that people. Yes, I'm saying such. Like I used to do a line about Dane Cook where I'd say the Dane Cook phenomenon reminds me of Germany in the 30s. All your friends are. There's a guy who's yelling a lot. And all your friends seem to like him.
Right.
But in many ways, Dane Cook is worse than Hitler because at least Hitler had a point of view.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So
yes.
Now, do I? And then on a subsequent year in Montreal, I did that speech. I said that something along Adam Carolla was like Hitler, except Hitler was funnier or something like that. And then they started to quote me like. They quoted this year. I was enraged by the coverage because when people hadn't even seen the speech and they were like, "Kindler calls Carolla Hitler." Doesn't seem to be kidding. And so obviously the opposite was true. Now, in terms of people like Carolla and people like that have gotten upset at it because I don't like I think they're saying racist things. Then I think that the level of how much, or if it's about Bill Maher or Richard Dawkins or these new atheists, or if it's about Muslim bashing and comedians partaking of that, then I think I really am angry. But with Jimmy Fallon, it's more like I'm not. It's hard to be angry at him because even the times I've met him, he's been very, very sweet, nice. I'm just angry at the whole way that people are embracing him because to me, there's nothing there. It's like people are embracing wanting to act like. The thing I love about Letterman was that, and I mean, he's still around, so not that I did love, is that, but he is retiring. But he was like a curmudgeon. He showed you who he was. To me, that's much more real to watch from a talk show host. To me, that's like he was, for my generation, he was the guy because he could be cranky too, because he was honest. Whereas Jimmy Fallon, there's no just saying how great everything is. I love this. I love that. So great. It's just phony to me.
Do you see a connection between authenticity and pretense and underground versus mainstream? I feel like these two go hand in hand in comedy a little bit.
Well, there's a lot of those things that you brought up are all different. I mean, like I've gotten in trouble, not in trouble, but I made fun of Louis C.K., who I think is very talented, but sometimes he could be a little bit, I could say, pretentious. Like that would be my criticism, not a funny criticism, but it's true in a way that he can lean towards that. Whereas Jimmy Fallon, he's not pretentious. He's just I don't know what. Anyway, what I'm saying is like different people have different symptoms or different ailments, and the mainstream thing is like something could be mainstream and be brilliant, or it could be mainstream and be terrible. Most often, when something gets huge, it's usually not good, but it's not always true.
You refer to your observations, at least you just did a few moments ago, as shtick. I'm curious, when you go after people a little bit, or when you kind of highlight things you want to criticize, do you actually want to enhance the state of comedy, or is this kind of criticism just good fodder for you?
Well, it's very hard to. First of all, when you're doing a thing where I've been doing that speech in Montreal, which is called "The State of the Industry" since 1996. And so because I was contracted to go back there every year, which has been the greatest thing in the world for me, then I'm in the role in that speech of being a critic of what's going on there. So it's a way of me focusing. So some of it is me getting on my soapbox. And, I've been doing these jokes forever, like jokes like, hey, if you ever want to get into show business, take the high road, no traffic. you know. And so there's jokes like that just basically lampoon or mock show business, and then there's other jokes that I'm like, you know, when Leno was given the Tonight Show job, I was so enraged by it that I'm trying to show people, hey, wake up. Whether you know, wake up and become involved yourself, because I think that's one of the problems could happen when things go wrong in a comedy club. Sometimes the comic is off, but sometimes the audience just wants to be entertained too, like they're a little drunk, or they just they don't want to. It's not even a matter that they have to be well read or anything. They just have to listen. And so when I'm attacking different people, I'm attacking it for all kinds of reasons. I'm attacking it because I'm angry myself about it, and one of the best reactions to being angry is to come up with a joke. And so but if you get too much into like, I'm going to tell you people what you should be thinking, and you're going to learn from this. And I think you get into like parts of like Jon Stewart is hilarious, but then there's that part of him that's very, where he's telling, it's kind of sanctimonious in a way.
Yeah.
Where he comes off as like, he's the voice of reason, and everybody else is kind of, and, you know, he's the America's conscience, you know. And when it gets into that territory, I get very uncomfortable, because I'm more like in the self-deprecating field. I'm more in the Richard Lewis field of like, I remember Richard Lewis was on a show and he was giving advice. You know, it's like people say, "What's your advice to young comedians?" And I say, "Well, don't move to L.A. immediately. You know, you don't have to move there. You know, get really good in wherever you live, and then move to L.A." And then he said, "Well, what do I know? Look at me. I'm dressed like Satan at a barbecue." So to me, it's like the more you take yourself seriously, the more you start to sound preachy, and that's the line that I'm always walking. Like in the speech I do, the more it's just rage, then it can be not that funny, and then also not that as effective. So when I say something's a shtick, I'm kind of half kidding.
Yeah, and that's what
Letterman.
Yeah,
like Letterman will say sometimes. Letterman will say, "Oh, I thought this was a roast after a mean joke," right? Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm saying, like, I don't want you taking it seriously to the point like I really hate someone like Jimmy Fallon, but I understand that it's intense, the comedy.
No, well, you seem to be highlighting an issue in comedy. I mean, when you make fun of Jimmy Fallon or whomever, it doesn't necessarily, I think it's business, not personal. I think you are concerned, you're protective of the art of comedy, and there's rage in it, and it's, you know, I think there's a bit of spectacle to what you're doing. I think you know what you're doing when you go after some of these people, but to me, I hope it's coming from a place of like, things could be better. We should be better than this. And
well, there's no doubt. I'm sorry to cut you up. There's no doubt that that's what I'm doing. But but the thing about it is that and a lot of people have said to me, because like, you know, there's been years, like the year I went after Louis C.K., where a lot of people, you know, like Louis C.K.'s friends, you know, not every one of his friends, but some of his friends were, you know, like comedians didn't react. Friends of mine did not react well. So then I got into this thing where like, you know, it's all the same issue with me. I have to have people. I want to be able to say what I believe, but then I don't want to, I don't want to alienate alienate people who I respect, and then that becomes a thing you can never win. So, but the people who have been supportive of me and have actually been surprised that other comedians have come back to me on these things. They're like saying, no, that's what they're saying kind of exactly what you're doing. That this is what I do. This is what I do, and I agree. This is what I do, and it is kind of like the business I've chosen, although I don't do all jokes about that.
Yeah.
But I know that people's feelings have been hurt, and so there is that part of me that I have to accept. Okay, I am going to hurt people's feelings, and then it gets into a whole thing about where I want to be a perfect human. It's like I want to be able to say these things and then have everybody love me. And then that's just my own character stuff that comes in, my own issues.
It's true. You want to be liked. Every time I've seen you, like there's a part of you that clearly wants to be liked, and so I think some people, when they hear you go off on someone who's successful, they wonder where it's coming from. Like, how do you suppose your outspokenness about other comedians relates to your own station in life? I think you just alluded to this, but can you expand upon that?
Well, the thing is. I kind of forgot. You just said one thing about. Can you rephrase the question, because my mind went blank.
Well, now I have to think about what I said. I think that some people Well, the actual.
Oh, okay. Here's the thing about being liked. I got it.
Yeah, being liked. That's what it was.
The thing is, I want to be liked, and this is a big difference. Is like I want to. It's not so much. Yes, down deep, I want to be loved, right? If you want to go down, right, we all want to be loved.
Yeah.
But down deep, but in that moment, I want the crowd. There's no question I want the crowd to laugh at what I'm saying. So like when a lot of people say, "Oh, he's fearless," some people will say to me, "Oh, you're fearless." Well, I've always said, "No, I'm fearless and fearful at the same time." It's like I'm not. My Achilles heel as a stand-up is I'm too plugged in to wanting the crowd to like me sometimes, or I'm over exaggerating how they're reacting. But what I don't do is I don't ever change my material to make a crowd like me.
Right.
Right. So that's like a difference that I'm kind of proud of in a way. And the part about trying to make the crowd laugh, it's important for me to get them to like me or like my comedy. Is kind of that I feel what got me into comedy to begin with was trying to make other people laugh. The unhealthy part gets to be if you get too much involved in, which is not something I have to worry about, thank God, of like, I better change my material so they like what I'm doing. But it's more my issues come with really at the core part of myself feeling bad about myself based on what other people think about me. Mm-hmm. That's not a good thing. That's something that's a lifelong goal.
Right. Have there been moments in your career where you've been completely satisfied or thought like, this is it, this is where all my work has been leading, I'm here?
I would say that I have never been more satisfied in my life with what I do, loving what I do, and then of course that jinxes it. I'm watching the thing about the jinx right now, but that jinxes it right away because anything, I kind of have a spiritual view towards comedy, and like I use that. I'm not the first person to use this, but like the surfing analogy when you're riding the wave, So I'm kind of like riding the wave with comedy, and I'm kind of like not. I think in general, if you could say, if you knew beforehand, every show I'm going to do is going to be amazing and I will kill, you part of you will go, oh, that would be fantastic. But the truth is that that's not the way the universe is set up, and the fact that you have all these ups and downs ultimately makes life more richer. But what I'm saying is all these breakthroughs, which I feel I've had, I've talked about this a lot. A few years ago, I had this big breakthrough where I realized that I wasn't saying everything that was coming to my head on stage. I thought I was, but mostly I would be yelling at the crowd or making fun of myself. Mm-hmm. And a few years ago, I got into this thing where I started to say, whenever I felt uncomfortable, to just speak about what I'm going through. And that really released me. Because then I could talk about, I'm sorry you guys didn't laugh at that half-baked idea that I came up with 3 hours ago. But then, like I'm saying with the surfing thing, is there's no technique that you use with stand-up that will always work. It's just more like you're putting yourself in the mindset. So I would say I've never been happier with, I've reached the pinnacle, if you want to talk about, this is what I wanted to do, be myself on stage. I could not be more thrilled about that
right.
part of it.
Right, and it has nothing to do with your profile being at its highest or anything like that. This is a self-propelled feeling almost.
It's a self-propelled feeling, and one thing about aging is unless you get more fucked up as you get older. I don't know. I'm sorry about the language. I don't know.
That's fine. You can say whatever. You can say whatever you want, Andy.
As you get older, you really have seen like that. You really get it in your gut that being rich won't solve all your problems, or having your own sitcom won't. I mean, when you really can say, of course I would want. I say I wouldn't want to be being a millionaire. Wouldn't solve your problems. Yes, I would love to be a millionaire. I'd love to have no money problems. I mean, my big thing that's gotten me depressed over my life is, especially when the recession happened here, was just not about how I do comedy, not about where I was creatively, but just like, hey, can I pay the bills?
Yeah.
But when you get, but I would say that not most, but many comedians, actors never get past the ambition, I've got to make it stage. and it actually, I think, blocks people from moving forward creatively because they're always just gauging it from the outside in of how successful they are.
Right. Okay.
So I've let almost all of that stuff go, but I still like, I don't want to lie and say I don't get up in the morning and sometimes go, hey, I've never been in a movie. Wouldn't that be nice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You still have aspirations, but you're taking things as they come.
I'm definitely well adjusted in that area.
Yeah. You and I met very briefly at South by Southwest in 2009. You were about to introduce, I feel like it was the Hold Steady at an outdoor afternoon showcase. I don't know if this is
my God.
ringing any bells.
It was so terrible. It was terrible.
Was that right?
I hated it. And in fact, I think I was emceeing the whole afternoon.
Yeah.
And this band did something to me. It's now coming back, unfortunately. I think the band came out while I was not Hold Steady, because I had known those guys. They'd done a piece on the show.
Yeah.
But another band, it was like a punk band or whatever. They came out as I was talking.
Oh no. Yeah,
and that made me very upset.
Yeah, the bands I was with on that trip had to hit the road, so I just saw you and I said, "Hey, Andy, big fan," and you were like, "Thank you," and then I had to split. But I'm curious, was there a particular reason you would have been emceeing that show? Was it just the Hold Steady asked you or something? Do you have like a strong connection to music otherwise?
I do have a strong connection with music because I was a musician before I was a comedian. But in this particular case, it was because at the show, Tom Ruprecht, who's a writer on the show, he's friends with the Hold Steady. So we did a thing where I visited them for Letterman, like a field piece.
Yeah.
And then somehow that got translated to me emceeing this outdoor thing at South by Southwest, which was just awful. But yes, I do I play guitar and I write songs, and that's what I was doing before comedy.
Huh.
And so I would like to consider myself musical.
Did these see the light of day? Do we know these songs? Did you play with a band that we might know or anything?
I wrote Stairway to Heaven.
Oh.
I also wrote Shut Up in Your Face. Do you know that song?
I do know that. Yeah, What's the Matter You? What Are You Gonna Do? That one?
Yes. If you're a fan of that song,
yeah,
then you might enjoy me and Todd Glass doing it for about 3 hours on his podcast.
Okay, all right.
Improving it. Why you have a problem? I told you about the screaming. You should stop it. There's nothing more to prove. Now come on now. What do I gotta do? Hey!
Oh my God!
Not so much for the talking.
Yeah.
We did that for 3 hours.
So you have a musical background. Is there any current musician that irks you as much as any comedians that you have criticized?
In terms of music?
Yeah, well, musicians in terms of music, yes.
I have ADHD, and in fact, I keep calling it ADD because I can't focus on what the actual name is. Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's like I wake up here's a joke for my act. I wake up every morning and I don't know who Adam Levine is.
Mm-hmm.
And then by noon or 1 o'clock, it becomes crystal clear who Adam Levine is. Then by nighttime, I forget about Adam Levine. And the next day I wake up with no memory of Adam Levine. So I know there's all this is he the guy from Maroon 5?
Yeah, and he's on he's on The Voice, the TV show The Voice.
Yeah, which I can't watch. And I don't understand Coldplay. So there seems to be there's always a healthy supply of terrible music.
What do you mean you don't understand Coldplay? You don't understand.
Why do people listen? Why do they listen to Coldplay?
Right. No, you don't understand the appeal of Coldplay. You understand what they're saying. It's English, but you don't.
I do understand what they're saying, but the truth is, I don't think I've ever listened to more than 3 bars of anything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing. Maybe this is not your father's Radiohead.
No.
I don't know what. But again, there are. But do you love Coldplay?
No, I don't know any. I only know that one song their first single. I don't know any of their songs. I really.
What's the name of that song? What's the name of that song?
Yellow, I think it's called, the one with the.
Oh, is that Yellow? No, that's another song. Yeah. So there's always that kind of thing. I don't like any music that sounds like you should be on ecstasy in a club to enjoy. I don't need that.
Okay.
I'm not on ecstasy and I'm not in a club. But I do love groups like The National.
Okay.
I love your Steve Earle. I love Elvis Costello. I'm very eclectic, but I do enjoy country-tinged music.
You say you're very eclectic. You've only mentioned white people. Is that?
Oh,
have I honed in on something?
Yeah, you've opened up Pandora's box, because although I consider myself very, very progressive, I refuse to listen to any people of color when it comes to music.
You say I'm very eclectic, and then you only mention kind of white people guitar music. It's just kind of funny to me.
Well, as Letterman said, when I think it was Michael Bolton sang "Dock of the Bay," as Letterman would say, and he did say, didn't Otis Redding put something in his will about no white people singing this song? I happen to be a huge Motown fan, so that's what I grew up with.
Okay.
So everything, but even pre-Motown, Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions, huge fan of them. I'm very old. And then all of the 60s soul music from Sly and the Family Stone. Jimi Hendrix, I loved. This whole rumor that you're starting.
Well, you
about me.
You just very purposely named nothing but black people after I. It's fine.
I don't like white people. Well, no, I didn't do that. I didn't do that on purpose.
I know.
As my friend David Allen Greer would say. That's not what Andy does. That's not what Andy's about.
You've mentioned and quoted David Letterman many times during our conversation thus far. He's retiring. You have a connection to him. How do you feel about David Letterman generally, and the fact that he's leaving?
Well, he is my comedy hero. He's the reason. I mean, I have many people, not many people, but I mean, Albert Brooks, Letterman, Woody Allen, Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor. I mean, I have people who are, it's not just a one-person list, but for me in my career, that was the show I always wanted to do. That's the show I dreamed about doing. And the fact that because he reached out to have me do these field pieces, that's why I did these field pieces. So
that's remarkable.
It's the greatest experience I've ever had. The last two sets I've had on the show, which are available online for anyone who'd like to. It's not available. You can just watch it. It's not for pay. So there's never been a better experience. I was able to tell him after one of the sets recently, I was able to thank him. And, you know, it really hasn't sunk in for me yet. I think I will be extremely sad, but I'm blocking it because he's still on the air.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm PVRing every episode, and I haven't even watched them. I just am. And the PVR is getting full, but my plan is just to PVR everything, and then when he's gone, I'm just going to watch them all, maybe, because it's hitting me. I'm younger than you. I'm 37. I presume I'm younger than you. I'm sorry, that might have been presumptuous, but
no, I'm way older than you. I have, as I said at Dave, and not to drop names, but at Dave Foley's, I think 50th birthday, I said, Dave, I have socks older than you because things have not gone well for me.
Anyway, I'm just I commiserate. I was very sad when he made the announcement. I knew it was coming. What do you make of the show? I know anyway, you can't talk about it. He's too close to you. Because you're a guy that you eviscerate people. I think on some level as fans, we both know that the show has been kind of on cruise control for the last few years, right? Can you say that?
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because to me, he has every time he opens his mouth, he's still hilarious.
Yeah.
And when he does those little desk pieces, so I would say when he had the heart thing,
yeah,
I think he would even say there were years that he was feeling very not good. But once the heart thing happened, something happened to him, and he has been straight on brilliant since then. Now, the show doesn't do a lot of the stuff that it used to do.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that he wants to, you know, when he says he wants to, I really do think he loves his son Harry so much. I think he wants to be around for him in these next few years. Oh, but I know that also that he doesn't. As soon as he said he wanted to retire, he doesn't want to retire. So I'm sure he has mixed feelings about it. But the other thing that I think is kind of cool about the whole thing is because obviously the universe got screwed up when Letterman was not given the Johnny Carson spot, just like Johnny Carson and
Yeah.
everybody wanted.
Yeah.
I do think that there could be nobody better than Colbert to come in.
Yeah.
And I'm actually looking forward to that because I love Colbert.
Yeah.
And no one's going to be like Letterman, but it would be nice to have someone in late night that's like, I think it could be in many ways, I think it could be like the greatest show ever, Colbert.
I'm excited.
Not greater than Letterman, but different.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm totally excited too. Well, Andy, sorry, you just said something that intrigued me. You said that since he said he was retiring, he doesn't want to retire anymore. Is that just from stuff he said on the air?
Oh, he said it on the air. He said it on the air. Like as soon as he said it, he regretted it. But I think it's like any you make a decision like that, you know, you are going to have whatever buyer's remorse or seller's remorse.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, the thing about Letterman is I have never spent any time with him like outside of the studio, but I've gotten to see him. I feel so lucky that I would get, you know, when I would show him a video piece, we would talk in between, you know, as we're rolling the piece, he would say a couple things to me. Mm-hmm. And the guy is like definitely, he fits all the characteristics of a true like curmudgeon, and he's hilarious. So I think he does have that very much like gruff attitude about everything.
Yeah.
And so I think he's also very hard on himself, which is amazing to think of. Like, I guess maybe it's a defense mechanism about not getting a swelled head, but he has to know how much so many people feel like they owe their careers or that he was their hero, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. He was basically a teacher to me. He doesn't know it, but and I haven't really cashed in on all the things he's taught me, but I do think that for a lot of people my age, your age, multi-generations, he's the guy. And yeah, anyway, now you're making...
I just wanted to make one thing that I meant to say. So I'm sure, just like he is about everything, I'm sure very hard on himself about the decision.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Well, Andy, I want to ask you what's next because I know you got this show in Winnipeg, and you've got
when is this coming out?
Well, this will be out just ahead of your show.
Oh, beautiful! You know, I have the thing in Winnipeg, and that should be enough. But I'm also going to be on season 3 of Marin.
I was going to ask. I just got the newsletter from Mark Maron today, I think it was, and it said that season 3 just wrapped, and that it's going to debut May 14th or something like that.
Oh, that's great! I didn't know it was so soon. So I'm still the voice of Mort on Bob's Burgers.
Yep.
And then eventually, when I will release this comedy CD that I recorded like over a year and a half ago.
Okay, good.
A year or 3 months ago. It's going to be called Hence the Humor. So look for that.
But do you have a plan? Is there a plan? Are things still being worked out detail-wise in terms of when's...
It's AST Records, the Special Thing Records,
okay.
AST. But we're supposed to have had it out by now. So I plan to make it a big launch. I plan to make to try and promote it.
Yeah.
And I plan to annoy people by the time I'm done.
Good work. That sounds good. And how many episodes of Marin are you on? Do you know? I mean, you would know.
I did 3 this year, and so I think I've been on at least 2 or 3 every year, all 3 seasons.
So for the upcoming season, you're on 3. Is there anything you can tell us about these episodes?
I could tell certain things, but I do think that somehow they would fire me.
Yeah, no, I was trying to get you fired, and I just wanted to see if you would fall for it.
Mark, I live inside Mark's brain. It's like one of those.
Herman's
that
Head?
movie was, well, more like Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin, which I didn't see that movie.
All of Me?
Inner Space, something like that.
No, All of Me is...
All of Me.
All of Me is a fantastic film. Inner Space, not as good.
I didn't see it. I'll take either one, though.
Okay, well, I think we should all watch All of Me, actually, because that's a great one. Now, well, yeah, that's it. I got nothing else. Once again...
I can say this.
Go ahead.
I will be appearing with Dave Anthony and Mark again in scenes, which I did a lot in the last season.
Oh, okay.
I think I can reveal that.
That's a nice clue. You know, if you see Mark and I had a couple of good conversations, and then, now he's like, doesn't return my emails, and then I get diverted to some agency people, and they don't give a shit about me. If you see Mark, and you remember that you spoke to me, Vish,
I will definitely talk you up because this was a great interview. You did a wonderful job.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I want to tell
You
people.
did a really great job.
Well, you don't.
And the thing about Mark is that it's like he doesn't. It's just all it is how busy it is. It's nothing to do with like avoiding anything.
No, I'm not taking it. Who am I? I'm a nobody really, but I appreciate that he and I value the interactions I had with him, and I'd like to talk to him again because he means a lot to me as well. Anyway, thank you for the compliments. I want to say once again, Andy Kindler will be performing live all over the place in the next few months, including a stop at the Park Theater in Winnipeg on Friday, March 27th. Andy's on at 8 p.m. For more information about this, please visit parktheatervideo.com and andykindler.com. They have video in their domain name. I don't know what that...
I love it.
It's good. Yeah.
It's more people should have it. I have VHS in all of my web addresses.
Yeah, andykindler.vhs.com is where to learn more.
Unfortunately, I closed weak again.
Andy Kindler, it was a great pleasure to speak with you, and
thank you so much.
I'm a huge fan. I wish you the best of luck.
I wish you the best of luck. You did an amazing job.
Hey, thanks again for checking out Creative Control with Vish Khanna. You can email me about the show at creativecontrol933@gmail.com. That's creative with a K, control with a K, 933@gmail.com. You can also follow our Twitter at Vish Creative, VishKreative. And you can also like our Facebook page. A version of this show airs on CFRU in Guelph every Wednesday at noon Eastern. And you can listen to that online at cfru.ca, or if you're in the KW region at 93.3 FM in Guelph. You can also sign up for the weekly mailing list for the podcast and the show at vishkhanna.com and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. I believe that is everything I wanted to tell you. Thank you once again.